That Collier County is coming in for Trump. That's a good thing for the president. That's what he needs. The southwest part of the state tends to be more conservative, 77%, but look how low we are here. So we got a long way to go here. We're just a couple hundred votes, 300 votes and some change there. So see if that holds up for the president right here. But you pull up right here. But I just want to come up here. This would be a huge deal. This would be a huge deal. Duval County is Jacksonville, up here in the top part of the state. President tends to win once you get out of the urban areas, but this is, again, one of the fast-changing areas all across America, but in the Sun Belt states like Florida, you have the city and the suburbs around it, 75%. You see Joe Biden at 54%, President at 45% if you round up. This was a Trump win, just barely, but Donald Trump narrowly carried the suburbs 4 years ago. He's expected to lose the suburbs this time. By how much could determine who wins the presidency tonight. So if you watch Duval County right here, it's the 7th largest county in Florida. That edge for Joe Biden, we always think about down here is critical for the Democrats, up here critical for the
Republicans. Let's not forget, John,
it's up to 67,000.
The Central Time Zone, they're not going to close until the top of the hour.
Right.
The Eastern Time Zone in Florida, they close.
Right, and so again, if you look across, just watch across here. They're still voting out by Pensacola and on the Panhandle. So let me just go back and show you, just to remind you, all these smaller counties, you're going to see a lot of red. Right? That is the key for the president. Again, they're not very populous, but when you add up one, then another, then another, then another, you get the votes to offset some of this. It takes time, which is why Florida sometimes roller coasters through the night. But look at.
I see Palm Beach County is now in.
Look at
check
this. That's 2016. You do see this though. Palm Beach County is in right now. But look, this is 91 to 28. Yeah. We have a long way to go in Palm Beach. But this is the quirks of the map. When you're watching at home, you see this county red. If you're a Democrat, you panic. Which is why we need to visit it.
Go back to Miami.
Remind you that we're very early in this count here. And so let me take the lines away so you're not distracted. But if that stays blue, that's a big deal for Democrats. If that stays blue, it's a big deal for Democrats. You come back down to Miami-Dade. Again, if you're in the Biden campaign, you want it to be better than that, right? Doesn't mean it's game over, but it means if you're not getting it here, you better make it up somewhere else. And we'll watch the rest of this vote come in. Again, if there's a lot of early votes to come in, these numbers could change dramatically.
Because 4 years ago, Hillary Clinton did a lot better in Miami-Dade County.
She did 64%. And again, part of it's the percentage. That's one thing you look at. The other thing you look at, especially because we expect turnout to be up this year, sometimes that helps you, sometimes that helps you more. 624. See, in Miami-Dade 4 years ago, the president got 334,000 if you round that up by that one. So you come back here, remember 624 and 333, and you see the president right now already has a significant 120,000 more votes out of Miami-Dade than he did 4 years ago. Now, is that just because turnout is up everywhere, or is he making inroads with the Democratic constituency in Miami-Dade? That is what we'll learn as we go deeper into the night. But if there's Joe Biden right now, if you're worried about anything in Florida, you're worried about that you're winning Miami-Dade, but not by the margins that you wanted. Still, though, 74,000 votes with a long way to go. And again, this is blue at the moment. I mean, red at the moment. We don't expect it to stay that way, but we'll see as we count them. And again, the key part for me, here we go. Orange County has filled in 700 votes and change there. So it doesn't matter. This has to be blue at the end of the night. If that stays red, Joe Biden's not going to win Florida. But it's very early on as we go through. And again, as you get real votes, 83% here. This could be critical here. Osceola County here. You come through, 61%. Again, you're looking for math, especially if you're Joe Biden and you're not getting what you wanted out of Miami-Dade. You need to make up for it somewhere else. So you're looking here, 50,000, 85,000 4 years ago. You come back in now. Joe Biden right now about the same, a little below where Hillary Clinton was. We're still waiting for some votes there. This is what we're going to have to do. Florida gets so competitive. You go through county by county. You match up the math to 4 years ago. You see how much turnout is up this year compared to then, and you average it all out.
50% of the vote in Florida is now in. Trump is ahead by about 74,000 votes, 50.2% to 48.9%. Now he's up by 91,500 votes, 51%. Florida is very fast. The numbers are coming in quickly. Let's look at Georgia right now.
So you move up and you see Georgia. It's not often you see Georgia blue. And again, you see a lot of red, and yet Georgia is blue because right now Joe Biden is winning. And this one here, this is Fulton County where Atlanta is. We don't have any votes yet. But then you move here to Cobb County to the north. And again, this could be the story of the night. I emphasize could be because we're early. But you look at right here, only 27% of the vote in, 63 to 35 in Cobb County. This is the suburbs to the northwest of Atlanta. It used to be Republican country. Hillary Clinton won it last time, but just barely, right? 49 to 47. So this is what we're going to watch throughout the night. Especially suburbs are growing. Suburbs are where the people are. Suburbs is where you get your math. Especially if you're a Democrat, you know Donald Trump's going to run it up in all these smaller rural counties. As you see, this is 2016. You come up to 2020, you're starting to see the same repeat of that, right? You see the president, that's not a huge margin there. We'll see how it goes. But in these small rural counties, the president tends to run it up. We move up here, let's just see 83% in a county like that. And again, it's 3,000 plus, 4,000 plus votes when you're done, said and done. That's what Trump does to offset the urban areas and the close-in suburbs. So one of the tests tonight, let's drop down a little bit more to Henry County. 59% there, come back in time. 50%, 51% if you round up. So those are the things you're looking for, especially in these places where Joe Biden's performance in the suburbs is absolutely critical. He needs African-American turnout to be up in Atlanta, in Augusta, in Columbus, in Savannah, and he needs, when you get into the suburbs, and the Democrats do very well in the close-in suburbs, more and more increasingly in the Trump age, they've been moving out into the outer rings of the suburbs, out to the ex-urban areas. So you watch this play out here. You look 16,000 votes ahead there in the state of Georgia. Let's take a peek at South Carolina. The president winning quite handily here so far, but that's very preliminary in the vote. One of the things we'll watch throughout the night. Are the president's margins about the same, or do they shrink even in the places he wins? Just want to peek one more time at Florida as we go here. Florida 2020. Welcome back to the roller coaster. Joe Biden has pulled ahead by 7,784 votes in the state of Florida. But again, 49.6, 49.5. We're early in the night. Florida is as close as it gets, which is pretty remarkable. Let's just take a closer look at what we're seeing here. Palm Beach turned blue. We thought it would. And a big vote dump to get it blue. That's why the state changed, right? We had just a few hundred votes in Palm Beach a few moments ago, and the president was leading. Right now, the Florida vote coming in as Joe Biden would like it, as we wish, but we will keep counting.
We certainly will. Florida's emerging as a major, major fight that's going on right now. We're coming up on another critical round of poll closings in the Biden-Trump presidential race just moments from now. That's when most polls will close in North Carolina, Ohio, and West Virginia. Together, those states account for 38 of the 270 electoral votes needed to win the White House. All right, we got a key race alert right now. Too early to call in these states, including in Ohio. Too early to call in Ohio. 18 electoral votes in Ohio. Too early to call. Too early to call in North Carolina as well. 15 electoral votes in North Carolina. Too early to call. West Virginia, 5 electoral votes. Too early to call in West Virginia right now. Let's take a look at the Electoral College map where it stands right now. It still remains the same. 11 Electoral College votes for Trump, Indiana. 0 so far for Biden. 270 needed to win the presidency. Let's get a key race alert right now. All right, in Florida right now, let's start. 29 electoral votes. Donald Trump has a narrow lead right now with 59% of the estimated vote is in. Look at how close it is. Got a lead of about 25,000 votes, 49.7% to 49.4%. This is a must-win for Trump. He must win Florida. If Biden were to win Florida, it would be very, very difficult for Trump to get reelected. We're watching Florida so closely. In Virginia right now, very, very early. Only 2% of the estimated vote is in. Trump is ahead by about 33,000 votes, 65.4% to 32.9%. In South Carolina, also very, very early. Trump is ahead 70.4% to 29.6%. In Kentucky, 18% of the vote is in. Trump is ahead by 75,000 votes, 58% to 40.5%. 3 more states right now. Let's take a look.
Very good morning to all of you. It's the race to the 270 mark. Will it be Donald Trump or will it be Joe Biden going to the White House? Well, it's the final election day in America. Americans are not just casting their ballot in this last-minute voting at the moment that's going on, but counting is also on. And at the moment, we
fucking
do have
gay.
results for at least one state of Indiana, which is already out, as you can see here behind me. That's marked in red. The rest of the states that have been marked in yellow are all swing states. These are going to really be the important states that are going to determine the fate of Donald Trump or Joe Biden. So after this result that has come in from Indiana, this is where the two contestants lie. 45% popular votes for Joe Biden, 54% popular votes there for Donald Trump, 11 electoral votes for Donald Trump, and at the moment, no electoral votes in favor of Joe Biden. But that's only because the result for one single state, Indiana, has been announced. The rest of the states' counting is still continuing. From what we are getting at the moment, in one crucial state of Florida, Joe Biden has taken a slight marginal lead there. Remember, this is one of the important states, Florida. It's one of the swing states, and last time around, with the 29 electoral votes, this was one of the crucial states for Donald Trump. It had turned red, and because of this, Donald Trump was able to make his way into the White House, beating Hillary Clinton. At the moment, what is being called a consequential election, a historic election in America, people are still going out there and voting. Last-minute attempts are being made to get voters out there at the polling booths and cast their ballots. In fact, Kamala Harris, who's running for vice president, who's the running mate of Joe Biden, put out a tweet as well asking people to go out, vote, and if they face any problems, to call the hotline numbers that are available to every American to seek help and reach out in case they are not able to cast their ballot. Early voting has been going on for weeks now. Early voting stopped in many of the states just ahead of the final day of voting. It is largely believed that early voters are Democrats. I mean, this is the analysis of those on the ground, and that those who are voting today are largely Republicans. But of course, things could be changing. We've seen a record number of people coming out and voting in Texas. In fact, all records have been broken as far as the voting is concerned. So some analysts say the large number of people who are coming out and voting are in fact ones who are seeking change. We're getting some updates now that are coming in live from CNN.
Don't fuck. Look at him, Mom. Stop.
As I was pointing out, President Trump will win
Pick up,
Indiana.
President.
That's what
Help me out.
CNN projections are now showing. There are 11 electoral votes at stake in Indiana. It takes 270 electoral votes to win the presidential election because there are 538 total electoral votes in the 50 states, and they are split up
This fucking
in
buddy,
states
how'd you go live on
according
your
to their
laptop?
population. Now, at the moment, the projections by CNN indicates that Indiana will be going to Donald Trump with 11 electoral votes. So, at the moment, only results in one state really have been declared, apart from what we saw in one small area of New Hampshire where all the votes had gone to Joe Biden. But of course, the entire state has to be counted first, and the elector gets the maximum number of votes, takes away all the electoral votes of that state. So in Indiana, it's red.
Tell me.
All the electoral votes in the state, which are 11 in number, have gone to Donald Trump. Joining me now, Professor Nadia. She's the professor of political theory in Columbia University. Joining us live, Professor Nadia, many thanks for speaking with us this morning. One state results projections are being shown by CNN at the moment. Of course, this is too early at the moment to state what is happening on the ground, as voting also still continues, I believe, in some of the areas. But from the numbers that we are seeing, who are stepping out to vote, in many of the places, records have been broken. Does it indicate some sort of a desire for change which could go against the incumbent here, Donald Trump?
Well, first of all, the question of Indiana is not the final issues. I mean, we need to wait for Florida and Pennsylvania in particular. And then also other states like Michigan and so forth, even Texas.
You mean end your live stream?
But so
I'm not
there
even
is
sure.
a split country. The country is very polarized. It's very hard to
It's
say
all
whether
backwards, it's
the
gay.
majority of American electors want to go with Biden rather than Trump. It's so hard to define, to decide on these two candidates because although they seem to be opposite, and they are opposite because Trump made the campaign for and against himself. He defined himself as the only object of the campaign. Pro
There
Trump
she goes.
against Trump. There are no other issues but Trump
Man, stop, man,
for
stop.
or against. These may be for some people good, those who have clear ideas, those who stay with or against, in any case, the so-called, faithful partisans. But for the large majority, the so-called medium voters, these can be very disturbing. And thus, it's very hard to say now what will be the best possible outcome of this. Only Indiana called for Trump.
Absolutely. I mean, nothing depends on Indiana clearly because it is the swing states that will largely determine who comes to the White House. And as you're rightly pointing out, Florida and Pennsylvania being extremely important at the moment. From the projections that are coming in, it appears to be a close fight in Florida as well. And last time we do remember that once Donald Trump had taken the 29 electoral votes in Florida, his victory was pretty much sealed.
Still can't get the fucking thing on.
A lot of Indian American population as well. Let me just bring that in over
Stop.
here because
Take
this
a
is a
look.
swing state. The contest is close.
Mom, look.
Does every vote count? And therefore, this small section of people are really just above a lakh
see how
there.
this works.
Will that also
Make a difference also. The vice of Biden, Kamala Harris has a kind of attractions for minorities, generally much more. I tend to be very prudent in this case and not to be so, convinced now that things are going easily for Biden. It's very hard. I myself, comparing myself now and last time with Hillary Clinton, when I was very optimistic until the end, and I learned to be very cautious because we really don't know, even the projections they are. So we know, for instance, now that the number of voters are very high. Perhaps it's the
Now
last
we need
huge big turnout since the last 120 years. Yet also the Republicans go to vote, not only the Democrats. So it's very hard to base these projections over trends.
fair enough. Yes, fair enough, Professor Nadia. Your point there taken. Just stay on with us. Let's quickly take a look at some of the other possibilities that America is bracing for at the moment. And certainly one of those is the possibility of unrest in case of political uncertainty. What is it like for the moment on the ground? How's the police bracing up for the situation? Here are the details.
Hi.
While some consider Wisconsin to be a battleground state, Green Bay Mayor Eric Genrich expects the battles will be kept between the candidates.
Election day is a pretty important day in our democracy as a country, and so it's a time for us all to come together and exercise our constitutional right to vote. And I think that's a pretty great thing.
Other cities across the United States have taken measures to prevent civil unrest on Election Day. Genrich says Green Bay has an appropriate security plan in place.
With respect to those polling locations, the 16 across the city of Green Bay, but also our central count. So we feel very comfortable with the plan that we have in place.
The National Guard has more than 400 members assisting at the polls, but they won't be in uniform and they won't be armed.
Their role is simply to serve the same duties as a traditional poll worker would.
While the Wisconsin National Guard has been requested to help at polling places on Election Day, they have not been requested to help with civil unrest, but say they're there if they're needed.
But we're certainly always in close contact with officials all across the state, and would be ready if needed for for any kind of response in any Wisconsin community, but at this time we don't have any request for assistance for civil unrest support.
Mayor Genrich expects voters to keep it civil, but says police are prepared for all contingencies. In Green Bay, Charlie Rubeski, Fox 11 News.
Joining us now with the very latest from Ground Zero, from America. Pavni Mittal is joining us from New York. Manisha Gandhi is joining us from Texas. Good morning to both of you. Good evening, rather, over there. Pavni, I want to come first to you. What is happening at the moment, Pavni, in New York? Any projections that are reflecting at the moment? Of course, we know that New York is one of the states that votes blue.
Good evening, good evening. Yes, actually, so New York is really not really surprised. You know, like you said, Indiana, we knew it was going to go red. New York is something that we know is going to go blue. So that's not really the thing. But, you know, I'm here at Times Square, and I have sort of a deja vu that I'd like to share. You know, 4 years ago, I was reporting right here, you know, in 2016, and this place was packed. You know, this is pre-pandemic, so you had all of that. And today, you have, you know, if I can just take you around, you can see there's a lot more press in the people. Of course, it has to do with the fact that there are not many tourists coming here, and also the fact that New York is not paying host to both the candidates. Last year, you had, you know, the Trump headquarter and the Hillary Clinton headquarter barely a couple of miles away from each other. So it's a very, very different scene. And people here are very nervous. We have a broadcast from ABC, which is where we're getting all our information. But the other thing that's really sticking out over here is that below these glitzy and glamorous sort of billboards, you have, you know, retailers that have boarded up. You can see it over there. You can see some Ray-Ban ones. You can see, you know, a lot of the H&M store. They've all boarded up because there is anticipation of unrest. You know, there's a lot of police vehicles that have been employed across the city. So retailers who've had a terrible year and have seen violence in the summer are not taking any chance.
All right, Manisha going to stay with us. CNN reporter Emily Schmidt is joining us from the Trump headquarters in D.C. Many thanks.
Senator, but whether or not he will be in that majority leader spot is a big, big question tonight.
You know, we should introduce Dana Prino and Juan Williams.
Do that.
With Chris Wallace and Rick Hume. Dana, this is a big win.
Reflecting results as well, or at least projections, for instance, Indiana.
This is the one that's going to go down. And Senator McConnell is going to lose to Amy McGrath, but it's not going.
You have to say, look.
That we expected those 11 electoral votes would go to the Republicans, but also remember Indiana is the home state of Vice President Mike Pence, and so very strong roots and ties there. But Maha, was interesting a few minutes.
For Chuck Schumer, the candidate recruitment in that race was really not very good. Plus, think about what Mitch McConnell was able to close on. The confirmation of a new Supreme Court justice and Amy Coney Barrett, and she's a very popular person across America. The other thing is that you called West Virginia for Shelley Moore Capito. She was the first woman to represent West Virginia in the Senate, and she will be returning there for another 6 years. I think when it comes to candidate recruitment, when you look at Mitch McConnell, what he was able to do versus what Chuck Schumer was able to do, even though there are very close races to watch tonight in the Senate, that Mitch McConnell probably wins when it comes to that score. Juan, let's bring you into the conversation here. It makes me think about South Carolina, about Lindsey Graham's race against Jamie Harrison. Lindsey Graham also probably got a bit of a lift from the judiciary hearing, which he ran as the chair of the Senate Judiciary Committee. Your thoughts as we look ahead to that race, which has been very tight for Lindsey Graham?
Well, again, you know, to me, I don't see that race, that, you know, the confirmation of Amy Coney Barrett. This might be for the team, yeah. I think it's an accomplishment.
Ever, the swing states become even more crucial. We are hearing that Florida seems to be a tight contest. Is that correct?
I think in large part, what we're seeing tonight is people.
Absolutely, you mentioned the number, and it's a magic number: 29 electoral college votes in Florida. Trump, of course, took it from Hillary Clinton last time in 2016. This is a huge fight. When you take a look at how many times President Trump, since about August, has been to Florida, 10 times. That number, of course, higher than Joe Biden, who took a different approach towards campaigning, did much more virtually than those large in-person sessions that we saw Donald Trump doing, but Florida is a key prize. There is no doubt that if you can nab those 29 electoral college votes, it puts you much closer towards the magic 270. However, the Biden campaign has also laid out today saying they believe that if they had to, they certainly don't want to, but they believe there is still a path towards 270, even if they lost Florida, even, they say, if they lost Florida and Pennsylvania. But that is certainly a path towards 270 that gets much more narrow, much more precarious. They are hoping that is not the situation. Certainly, the Trump campaign is feeling that they have done the work, that they've done the groundwork in Florida. They are hoping that the numbers will pay off for them.
Emily, many thanks for getting us all those details from DC and putting that into perspective as well, which is very crucial at the moment. Let me go across to Manisha Gandhi. Manisha, Emily is just pointing out polling on East Coast has closed. West Coast people are continuing to poll at the moment. What's the situation like, first of all, as far as polling is concerned?
Where are you going? The fucking thing's not as long, dude.
I know for a fact he can't made everything harder, but he's worked with him effectively without
what?
yielding to him. And, it's still up to him on his
This is what being live is all about. This is ABC News Live. 24/7 streaming news source from ABC News. Imagine breaking news, live events as they happen, streaming live, non-stop, straight to you. Imagine instant, incredible access to.
It's the first time.
That's grenade. Original, on the edge, breakthrough storytelling from ABC News, National Geographic, ESPN, all the most innovative storytellers, all designed differently for you to stream straight to any screen whenever you want, free. And imagine the most celebrated, epic live events and moments, all playing out right before your eyes.
See those flames behind me?
Go there now with ABC News Live. Think of it as your live streaming adrenaline rush.
Look at all of the smoke here.
Real, raw, live. No matter where the next step takes us, we're taking it.
My baby.
It's frightening. And go deeper inside the groundbreaking exclusives from the campaign trail only ABC News gets. Behind the scenes, exclusive access.
Take you inside for an extraordinary tour here at ABC News Live. This is it.
It's time to go there, be there.
We can't get it out
live on the scene. Maybe that's why, in just 1 year, ABC News Live is already America's #1 live streaming news. And imagine this, it's free. Watch ABC News Live right now and anytime, streaming on Roku, Hulu, Facebook, and abcnews.com.
ABC News Live, streaming everywhere, right to you.
Good Morning America tomorrow morning. Wake up to real-time answers, real-time results. The morning after this historic election with the most powerful team in politics live. First thing in the morning, ABC. Good Morning America. With so much at stake, so much on the line, more Americans turn here than any place else. ABC News World News Tonight with David Muir.
We have made it through another week together.
America's most watched program across all of television.
Wednesday night, get ready for a con so big, so outrageous, never seen anything like it before. Meet the Prince, pretending to be part of one of the world's richest royal families. Living large, but
Holy cow, who is this person?
He stole approximately $8.1 million.
where was all this money coming from? Buckle up.
Just the tip of the iceberg.
I'm Whoopi Goldberg. This is The Con. All new and royally good. Wednesday on ABC.
State of Kentucky. Kentucky will go to Donald Trump. It is the home of the Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell. Donald Trump won it last time around by about 30 points. Only about a third of the vote is in right now, but we can project that Donald Trump will win Kentucky again. Getting more vote in from the state state of Georgia right now, about 77% of the expected vote in. A long way to go there in Georgia. Donald Trump leading Joe Biden right now. In the state of Virginia, has been trending blue for some time. Right now, this could be, this is interesting. Donald Trump still ahead with about 13% of the expected vote in. The polls were not close in Virginia. Looking forward, we'll have to watch where the vote is coming in from the state of Virginia right now. As we've said, the president has already won the state with 16% of the vote in Indiana. Right there, we cannot project that yet, but the president is well ahead right there. And in Florida, we are, of course, watching the vote there in Florida with 80% of the expected vote in right there. Joe Biden and Donald Trump are battling it out. I want to go to Martha Raddatz, our chief global affairs anchor, my This Week co-anchor as well. And Martha, you're traveling the country through this election season.
About 6,000 miles since September, George, crossing the country and all the way back. And I think we really have to talk about the voters. It's so extraordinary how many people have voted in this election, how passionate they are about this election. And I can tell you many of those same people who I talked to over the last couple of months, I've talked to today, they are anxious, they are tense. One of the stories was in Kansas. I call it the tale of two farmers. Bob Hazelwood voted 2 weeks ago. In 2016, he voted for an independent. When I talked to him in September, he was leaning towards Donald Trump, but he decided he did not like his character. He did not like the chaos. He voted for a Democrat for the very first time ever, voting for Joe Biden. But his nephew told me this evening he was also leaning Donald Trump, and he voted for Donald Trump. He said he could not vote for Joe Biden. He said he didn't feel that Joe Biden supports farmers. But all over the country, everywhere I went, in the most rural areas, you would see massive signs. To Pennsylvania, where you would see every sign of Biden on one block, Trump on the next block. And many voters there who we talked to just a week or so ago also said they were switching, that they voted for Donald Trump but are now voting for Joe Biden, and most of those were suburban women.
And what you hear about that time and time again, Martha Raddatz, it's the tweets, it's the character.
It's exactly that, and I think really that comes down to character versus policy, and people are really trying to decide what they believe in. Like Bob Hazelwood in Kansas said he didn't like Donald Trump's character, but he loves his policy. So it's sort of personal versus policy, and Bob Hazelwood said he looked at the rest of the country and what a vote for Joe Biden would mean for the rest of the country as opposed to Donald Trump.
Martha Raddatz, thanks. What about Eva Pilgrim in Pennsylvania? Eva Pilgrim has traveled across the state of Pennsylvania as well. You cut your teeth, WPVI in Philadelphia. You've been across the state, and you've seen the same thing Martha has talked about. Neighborhoods where you have Biden signs on one side of the block, Trump signs on the other.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of mixed political support across the state of Pennsylvania. The thing we hear everyone talking about on both sides of the political spectrum is the concern over these ballots. A lot of people were thinking about potentially sending in a mail-in ballot, but then they got concerned because of all the confusion and speculation around the mail-in, so they decided that they would show up in person today to make sure that their vote counted. Making sure their vote counted was incredibly important to almost everyone we spoke to, George.
And Eva, you sent me a note earlier that it was fascinating to me. You said we've heard so much about these shy Trump voters, people who won't tell pollsters they're going to vote for Donald Trump. You seem to come across what you would consider shy Biden voters in Pennsylvania.
That's exactly right, George. I was actually really surprised to discover this after talking to some neighbors. They would see the Trump signs and they were concerned because they saw Biden signs that had been destroyed or windows that were broken. So they didn't want their neighbors to know that they were going to be voting for Joe Biden. George?
Eva Pilgrim, thanks very much. Coming up on 8 p.m. now, and these polls are going to close in